Hey, and we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from beautiful downtown Blue Ridge. We're at the Vault. Now, this is our fall winter schedule. We'll be here on Friday from 8 to 10, but when the weather permits, we will be staying in Blue Ridge every Friday. We'll be back over at Sycamore Crossing because we haven't forgotten our good friends over there, New Blue Home and Gift and Broken Bull, and especially Tupelo Tea. So we'll be back over there as soon as the weather permits. But this is our fall and winter home, and I enjoy it being by the fireplace, Christmas season. And what I like most is having you back, Dr. Whaley. How are you this morning?
I'm great. Feels like we're in a living room waiting for the fire to get cranked up and have the football games of this weekend. I wanted to say one thing. You're talking about how old you were. That proves that I'm really old. I found I'm the only.
I wasn't saying it.
I'm the only one who buys these at the local grocery store, and I found one in the cooler in the Sky Club in Tokyo, Japan, and my wife was just amazed. So I'm back from travel. I did want to say a couple of things. Feeding off your first 15 minutes. You were talking about pardoning Kaepernick, I think. So
No.
That was a joke.
Oh, don't get that.
I was trying to give you a chest pain.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I know. I agree with you about that. My good friend Jack Stuckey from the family of the Stuckeys, he's a far to the right of you and I, believes that the role of the federal government is to provide for a common defense, period. And that means roads, and we've said this before,
right.
Roads, and it means your telephone system and everything else. And then the second is health and welfare. It got nothing to do with education. So I watched the State of the Union last night like you did. And there are two things I wanted to mention. We can bounce back to them if you like, or we can go off and talk about sexually transmitted Zika, which is more medical. But Tom Price, I have known since he entered practice.
I've been waiting for you to get
All
here.
right. I was the president of the Medical Association of Atlanta when he was in practice, and we crossed paths a lot in the 20 years he was in Atlanta. We're not close friends, but I believe that he is a principled guy. He's smart and he's reasonable, and he doesn't walk on water. So he's going to have to put his pieces together and get what he can get, but I trust him. Monday night, I will be going to an annual meeting called the Buckhead Boys. There's an area of Atlanta called Buckhead. The Buckhead Boys are dying off because the definition is that you're a graduate of North Fulton High School, but Johnny Isaacson's a Buckhead boy. Johnny won't be there. I trust Johnny, and he is in charge of the VA. So the two things that were said in the State of the Union last night that struck me that I have a little bit of knowledge about is the modification of, I won't say the repealing Obamacare, but the modification, improvement, and getting rid of many features of Obamacare and keeping a few and doing something about the VA and the VA health care. And I know those two people, I trust them, and that made me feel good. So then when you go to the next part, you say, well, if I know him and he's on the right track there, then I've got to be on the right track with the crime. I'll talk about the drugs in a minute. I was the medical director of the largest narcotic treatment program in the world. And he's right. I don't know what we're going to do about all the states that legalized marijuana, but you know that cigarettes are a lead-in drug to marijuana, and marijuana is a lead-in drug to heroin and everything else, and we've been espousing the use of marijuana oil and marijuana products in medicine. So it's a complicated issue, but I think that he's going to surround himself with good people. I have confidence that within the first 100 to the first 200 days, the country is going to make the kind of shift he said that it would. And there are pieces of that we have to take on faith. But don't interrupt. You didn't interrupt me.
No. I actually, I've been waiting for you to get here because the timing is perfect. And as soon as he named Tom Price, HHS, Health and Human Services Secretary. Actually, the very next day I went on the show and I reminded people that the last time we seen an HHS secretary that was selling us Obamacare was Kathleen Sebelius out in Kansas, and we know what we got sold then. and it's day and night. But I think some people out there don't know, and you do, and you can share with our viewers, this will not be new to Dr. Tom Price. And let's say it's Dr. Tom Price.
Yeah, right. He's an orthopedist,
Yeah,
and a good
absolutely.
one.
But he has had a healthcare plan or a formulation of a plan ready for quite some time. Are you familiar with any of that?
I am indeed.
Share a little of that,
Okay,
because
all right.
I don't want people to think, well, wait a minute, it's just because he's a doctor. But he's prepared to take this on, is he not?
He is. Well, first of all, he came out with a alternative to Obamacare before Obamacare got in.
Absolutely.
2 years before. Once he knew Obamacare was on the horizon, he began to make suggestions. Things about his plan, and I don't want to say I know any more than what you can read, are: one, giving people tax credits rather than handouts or government supplements, taking that old style Medicaid, which was state grants to the states, where the states ran their own Medicaid, and going back to giving state grants to take care of. All of us want the poor, the lame, the disabled, the elderly, the blind. We want those people to have jobs. Or excuse me, we want those people to have health insurance.
Right.
And so that he's going to do that through that state grant program. Then he's going to have incentives for the medical type savings account. And way back 6 months ago, when you and I started this, I said, I believe everybody needs to have skin in the game.
Right.
And that if you've got a low income, your skin in the game might be a $2 copay for an office visit, and a 50-cent copay for a prescription. And if you make $200,000 a year, the floor probably should be $15,000 a year. You've got to spend.
Right.
Well, I mean, that was just me pulling the numbers out of my head. But if you think about savings accounts, he's not going to ask the guy making $60,000 a year to save the same thing he's going to ask me to save, or going to ask Donald Trump to save. It's going to be a different amount for everybody, I hope. And that means that everybody's going to have skin in the game, because it's going to be money they put aside, and then when they go to the doctor, that's the break on people going to the ER for a bloody nose. Right. And stuff. So I think that's going to be wonderful. And then the idea of continuous coverage without penalty is a new idea. Now, I don't know how much you paid to that, but what his plan says is that if you get in the system when you're sick, like you buy insurance because you know you've got hypertension or something, and you haven't had insurance for a long time, and you buy in then, and you get your hip replaced or your knee replaced or whatever, and then you drop out of the system again. Well, all you've done really is ride on the backs of the people that are playing the game according to the rules. If you try to get back in the system, you have to pay 150% penalty to get back in the system. So what he's really saying is, you buy health insurance, we're going to make it affordable, we're going to give the state the grant, you're going to get the tax credit, your amount of medical savings account will be reasonable, but you have to stay in the system while you're well.
Do you have the nerve to tell me that he's asking people to have a little self-responsibility?
I'll be darned.
How dare you come on here?
Well, that's exactly what he's saying.
That's exactly what, I mean,
that's exactly what he's saying.
If you round all that together,
exactly.
We need to have a little self-responsibility.
That's exactly. Some skin in the game, and then have self-responsibility. All right, well, I want to also give you you can't have me on here without the Zika update.
Wait a minute, all right, okay. We will not end without the Zika update, but I won't ask one more thing, and I feel so bad because he's just a great guy, a dear friend now. What is Dr. Ray's last name? Tidman. Dr. Ray Tidman. When I was talking to him and we were talking about Obamacare, one of the things that I'm going to say he gets highly upset about is the government coming between me and my physician. And this, what Tom Price is talking about, this will put it back to not getting the government between me and my physician. Correct?
That's it. Okay. So what I've been giving you are the nuts and bolts of the
And I know I don't want to get in the weeds too much.
By the mechanism by which Tom Price wants to reestablish the doctor-patient relationship.
Right, doctor-patient relationship.
Right. Now, I think I also told you, a month or two ago, that the American Society of Clinical Oncology had done a study that 40% of the average cancer doctor's day was spent on regulation and working on the computer electronic medical record,
Right.
and dotting I's and crossing T's that would have been 20 years ago spent taking care of patients. One of the things that Donald Trump said was he was going to get rid of all unnecessary regulations, all unnecessary federal rules that limit businesses from making money or for people from investing, and that's the things about Obamacare and that you don't think it up. The Obamacare mandated the electronic medical record. Obamacare and the HIPAA rules, health privacy protection and all of that business. When you go to the doctor today, you get 8 pages that you have to fill out. Do you have a living will? Are you
Right.
going to sign the HIPAA form? Well, when you go from Tidman's office to my office to the dermatologist's office in one day, you have to fill out those forms 3 times. Now, that's a burden for you, but it's a burden for the poor doc, because then he's got to sit there and enter all that into the computer. Well, I think he's going to get rid of that, and Ray Tidman got to the heart of it rather than the nuts and bolts. The heart of it is that what we do today is interrupting the amount of time that Ray Tidman can sit in his office as a primary care physician and talk to you. And talk to you about your family.
Right.
And take a history. Patients tell me all the time, nobody takes a history anymore like you do. I said, well, that's because I'm 76 years old and they were trained and they're 45. They never learned how to take a history like this because they've been doing with all this regulation. See, I'm not near as smart as Ray Tidman. He's an aeronautical. Well, I'm serious. I don't
want to say you're not smart, but
he is an aeronautical engineer, and did you know that? He's a Georgia Tech aeronautical engineer. He's a smart man. Now, I may be better looking, and
Well, I don't know about your jokes, though. Dr. Tidman always brings one joke.
He's got some jokes. He's great.
But yes, I just wanted to go into that because I think Americans right now, they're just going to get bombarded with information as Tom Price and Congress start making changes to Obamacare or implement different things. And I think the guy guiding the ship, I want the American people to understand, or at least our viewers, that the guy guiding the ship, as much information as we can bring, is the guy that should be guiding the ship.
Well, first, he's a doctor.
Right.
Second, I know him to be an honest guy, an honest broker. I mean, I'm not going to say everybody in government is or that all the doctors are, but I'll give you an example. When he was in the House, the Georgia House, I was on the Board of Corrections, put there by Zell Miller, and it came time to be reappointed, and Roy Barnes, who's a friend of mine, called me on the phone and said, Bill, he says, I'm not going to reappoint you because I got some people I've got to put on boards that were big contributors. Now, Roy Barnes is a great guy. I love him, and he's a friend. I called up Tom, and I said, Tom, when y'all send that list of people over there to Roy, I want to be on that list. He said, Bill, I got to tell you, I think there's some people that ought to be on that list ahead of you. And we were friends. And so I couldn't push him, is what I'm trying to say. He wouldn't acquiesce to what I wanted just because we were friends. He did what he thought was right in terms of making those recommendations. So that's a personal experience with him. And I really
Okay, now, Dr. Whaley, I apologize for being rude earlier. We are never going to finish a segment without Zika virus update, and I didn't mean to get sidetracked,
okay, right.
But what do you have for us and Dr. Whaley has been, if you go all the way back, we have the clips every time you see ask the doctor, Dr. Whaley, Georgia Cancer Specialist. You will find a Zika virus update that he has been keeping up with and giving our viewers. Go ahead.
Well, it's always a contrarian position. My position every time has been they haven't told you everything yet. And I've been shown right every single solitary time. While we were in China, there was a big headline, Zika no longer a problem in the U.S. Jane said, how can they say that? You were talking about Zika being a sexually transmitted disease. So, Monday of this week, they announced the first case of mosquito-transmitted Zika virus in Texas. That was Monday. It was in Brownsville, Texas. Well, they only discovered that because the Texas Health Department went out there and started doing these blood tests. The patient was not actively infected, did not have any knowledge that he had had the Zika virus. That's the first thing. As of today, there are 4,444 cases of Zika virus in the United States. Of those, 182 are obtained in the United States by mosquito transmission. That does not include the Texas case, will make it 183. You still with me?
Yes.
There are 36 sexually transmitted cases. So of the ones that have been found in the U.S., just by going out in the street and drawing blood, there are over 200 cases. 183 now, mosquito-borne, 36 that are sexually transmitted. One tenth of 180 is 18. 2 18s is 36. That means that 20% of the cases found in the United States just by surveillance of the population were sexually transmitted, not mosquito transmitted. So now it's wintertime. When I got up this morning, it was 29 degrees on my porch. We will not have any more Aedes aegypti mosquitoes in Blue Ridge, Georgia until spring. But that doesn't mean that you won't have the possibility of transmitting the Zika virus in Blue Ridge, because we have a lot of tourists, a lot of young people up here from Florida.
You know,
if they have unprotected
sex.
I
was here for Light Up Christmas, and we had thousands, and I talked to people actually I did the parade at Sycamore Crossing, I did the whole parade there, and I talked to everybody there. Florida. They were visiting from Florida.
Yeah, they're visiting Florida. So anyway, it is a sexually transmitted disease. As I had said in here back before I started traveling, when somebody has gone on a cruise, comes home, never was sick, carries the virus, and people going on those cruises are young and is having unprotected sex, then that is a real big issue as it relates to the possibility of transmitting this disease all through the winter without having to have mosquitoes. The second thing I want to mention is that it was in the news yesterday about a baby who was born in Florida, got the Zika virus, had no abnormalities at birth, and at 3 months and 4 months developed near blinding glaucoma from the Zika virus. So the Zika virus did not cause any birth defects, but caused glaucoma in 3 to 6 months after birth. Well, you'll remember it's been probably 12 weeks ago, I told you about a case that was transmitted in Idaho by tears. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
It's going to live in the eye for 2 years. We know that because dengue is the similar virus, and it grows in the liquid of the interior of the eye for 2 years. So, you know, I was saying this guy the grandfather didn't have sex with the son. It was transmitted by tears. So we didn't really realize that not only is it transmitted by tears, but if you're a kid, a growing baby, then it can cause abnormalities as the eye develops. I did tell you that if you get that virus and are born normal, that it can still cause peripheral neuropathy, paralysis, and brain damage even after you're born. So there are a little over 1,000 pregnant women in the United States today with the Zika virus. Of those 4,444 cases, 1,000 of them are pregnant. There are going to be somewhere around 200 of those that are going to be born with some sort of birth defects. Well, some of those other 800 may end up with glaucoma or something else in the next 6 months to 2 years. So it's not gone. It's still a public health issue. So,
Well, Dr. Whaley, we thank you so much for keeping us, the viewers, and myself up on what's going on, because the media out there, if they don't want to, if it's not something they feel it needs to be in the headline, it did not go away.
yeah.
It did not go away. It's something that just all of a sudden is.
That talk last night he had about the bad media at the back. I kind of wish he'd be a little bit less flamboyant about it. But when I spent all those years in the drug treatment business, as I say, and I look at how the media approaches things that I know that are medical, and they approach it with a political bent and not with a scientific bent. Ray Tidman could sit here all day long because he's got a grandson or a son-in-law or something that may win a Nobel Prize. There's a bunch of bright people there. But the media will take a scientific advance or a report and make it suddenly seem like there's a cure for cancer, blowing it in that direction, or there'll be a real clear-cut indication that this is a problem, and the media will blow it off. I think the only I just don't trust them. I mean, it's not just in politics. I mean, it's not just in politics, and because they will misinterpret or they will misinform about scientific stuff, about medical stuff, and you see it when they're telling lies about politics. But I think they get a lot of it wrong.
I think they get that's a perfect way to frame that up. I think they get a lot of it wrong. Anything you want to share with before we go today? We got to get you to work. You
Okay,
well,
I'm fine. I gotta tell you, I was in China. I worked in a leper colony in Taiwan in 1968. So I saw Formosa when it was Formosa in Taiwan, and it was like in the old movies. I was in mainland China in 1984, and there were 5 automobiles owned by private citizens, and everybody rode a bicycle. And when I was in China here a few weeks ago, it is a brand new country, and everything's 15 years old or younger. We're way behind. And when Donald Trump says they're kicking our fanny, they are kicking our fanny. We went on a highway that ran from Shanghai Center City, about 40 miles to the airport, that was all elevated, 8 or 12 lanes wide, and everybody in the country's got a cell phone. They never had a telephone system run with wires. They never had a telephone system. So they just put in the modern telephone system. Everything they got is brand new. And I think that the technology that I saw in Singapore, I was in Singapore Monday, and here's Friday, that we saw even in South Africa when we were in South Africa the few days before Thanksgiving, and in China, that we think that America is way more advanced than the rest of the world. We're number 17 in the world in terms of quality and comfort of life. And Donald Trump wants us to get back to being in the top half a dozen. Now, we're not ever going to get to be Sweden, or we're never going to get to be Norway, because we don't have that demographic. So we're always going to have more crime, and we're going to have more problems with education. That's a demographic issue. But there's not any reason why we should have a higher infant death rate. There's not any reason why we should have the crime rate we've got. He's right. We've given up human responsibility. When I was a kid, I wouldn't smoke a cigarette out someplace, partially because Coach would catch me, but no matter where I was, somebody that was in the church, somebody that was in the neighborhood, or somebody that knew my mama would have seen it, and they'd have whacked my butt with a razor strap. And today we've lost that sense of community where I'm responsible for his kids as well as I'm responsible for my own. And if I call up this guy's mama now and say, I saw your boy speeding without a seatbelt, they criticize each other. They criticize the parent, rather than going back and saying, hey boy, I'm going to take away your driving privileges and give me your cell phone because Mrs. Smith saw you driving with a cigarette in your hand and no seatbelt.
We had it. We don't have we didn't have the cell phones and and all of that. But I call it the mom network. I grew up in a subdivision, and I call it the mom network. And one mom would make a call and say, "I'm going to the grocery store. The kids are out playing." And every mom in the neighborhood watched the kids.
Exactly.
And you could get punished.
Yeah.
And when you got home, your mom got home, the neighbor's mother your friend's mom could punish you, and my mom would thank her.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We got to stop.
No, we got to go. Wait, one place a little bit farther. We're at the vault. You can probably hear the coffee being made in the background.
Absolutely.
This young man standing behind the counter there with the hat that was trying to get the sun out of your eyes was just looking over here at us as we were talking about the mom network and the stuff not falling far from the tree like we were crazy. I'm just telling you that young people you're checking to see how nuts we really are. But, you know, I don't know whether he agrees with us or doesn't agree with us, but we're old people.
Well, you know, the good thing is, together we're a couple of nuts.
Yeah,
and
we're a couple of nuts.
Time.
It's Christmas time. All right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, we're going to see you next week, folks. I'm back. I'm not traveling anymore.
I was getting ready to ask. We'll have Dr. Whaley back next week. If you can hear behind us, we're at the Vault here at Blue Ridge. Come on down. They have a full breakfast menu over here. Got the fresh donuts that they make right here, fresh coffee, and you can hear that behind me. They're making coffee. Got it, Christmas decorations. We're excited to be here. Now, folks, we are running 3 streams. We're running Facebook, YouTube, and FYNTV.com. So we're up here at the Vault. We're still doing some internet adjusting, but it's going well. So you can find us on Facebook. Go to Facebook, FetcherNews.com, find our Facebook logo, and like our page. We're running live there. You can find YouTube. If you go to FetcherNews.com, you find the YouTube symbol up there. Go to YouTube. Join our channel, become a member of our channel, and that'll give you a notification every time we're live on YouTube, and then it's that simple, FYNTV.com.
All right, I was going to say, the spring and summer sound effects are the train horn, the winter and cold weather sound effects are the coffee machine.
I like that.
And
yeah, we were
got
getting
sound, we've got ambiance up there, and the one place this has got that Sycamore Crossing doesn't have, stop and smell it. You smell that coffee?
Yes, I smell that coffee.
You can't smell the tea at the Sycamore Crossing.
No, but
you can smell the coffee.
Yes, and I like what you just said. Over at Sycamore Crossing, we did have the background train, the 9 o'clock whistle. We knew it when it was 9 o'clock.
Now we got the coffee machine.
Now we got the coffee.
So I want to tell people, come in here, walk in, smell, and go back out. But if you can walk in here and smell and not buy a cup of coffee, you got more fortitude than I do.
And you know, I'm silly. We have the chalkboard coffee cups. They write your name on it. I'm your host, BKP. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back right after these messages. And we're going to talk about what is going on at the Fannin County Performing Arts Center through the holiday season. Cole, take us a break.